Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadraya. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Haribol, 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 Gora Haribol, Haribol. Nitai Gaura Premanande.
So today we'll be reading from Canto 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Status Quo. Chapter 28, Kapila instructs on devotional service. We'll be doing text number 22. We'll all do Mangal Charan. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishamanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vangsha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patithanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudire nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagvat sevayat bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati neshtaki mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Text number 22. Yachaucha nishrita sarit pravarodakena Tirthena murdhanya adhikritena shiva shivo bhut. Dhyatur mana samala shaila nishrita vajram. Dhyaye chiram bhagavatas Charanarvindam. Yachaucha nishrita sarit pravarodakena. Tirthena murdhyanyadhikritena shiva shivo bhut. Dhyatur mana shamala shaila nishrita vajram. Dhyaye chiram bhagavatas charanarvindam. Vaishnavas. Yachau nishrita sarit pavarodakena. Tirthena murdhyanyadhikritena shiva shivo bhut. Dhyatur mana shamala shaila nishrita vajram. Dhyaye chiram bhagavatas charanarvindam. Yachachau nishrit sarit pravarodhakena. Tirthena murdhyanyadhikritena shiva shivo bhu. Dhyaturmana Shamala Shaila Nishrita Vajram Dhyayena Chiram Bhagavatas Charanaravindam. Oh, go, sorry. Yachaucha Nishrita Sarit Pravarodakena Tirthena Murdhanyadhikritena Shiva Shivo Bhut Dhyaturmana Shamala Shaila Nishritra Vajram Dhyaye Chiram Bhagavatas Charanaravindam. Okay, word for word. Yad. The Lord's lotus feet. Saucha. Washing. Nishrita. Gone forth. Sarit Pravara. Of the Ganges. Udakena. By the water. Tirthena, holy, Murdhini, on his head, Adhikritena, born, Shiva, Lord Shiva, Shivaha, auspicious, Abhut, became, Dhyatu, of the meditator, Manaha, in the mind, Shamala Shaila, the mountain of sin, Nishrishta, hurled, Vajram, thunderbolt, Dhyaye, one should meditate, Chiram, for a long time, Bhagavataha, of the Lord, Charanaravindam, on the lotus feet. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanavrind. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. The blessed Lord Shiva becomes all the more blessed by bearing on his head the holy waters of the Ganges, which has its source in the water that washed the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord's feet act like thunderbolts, hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. One should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time. Purport. In this verse, the position of Lord Shiva is especially mentioned. The impersonalists suggest that the absolute truth has no form, and that one can therefore equally imagine the Lord of Vishnu or Lord Shiva or the goddess Durga or their son Ganesha. But actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Master of everyone. In Chaitanya Charitamrit, Adi Leela, chapter 5, 142, it is said, Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasabhabhrita. The Supreme Lord is Krishna, and everyone else, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, not to mention other demigods, is a servant of Krishna. The same principle is described here. Lord Shiva is important because he is holding on his head the holy Ganges water, which has its origin in the foot wash of Lord Vishnu. In Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatana Goswami, it is said that anyone who puts the Supreme Lord and the demigods, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, on the same level at once becomes a Pashandi or atheist. We should never consider that the Supreme Lord Vishnu and the demigods are on an equal footing. Another significant point on this verse is that the mind of the conditioned soul, on account of its association with the material energy from time immemorial, contains heaps of dirt in the form of desire to lord it over material nature. This dirt is like a mountain, but a mountain can be shattered when hit by a thunderbolt. meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, acts like a thunderbolt on the mountain of dirt in the mind of the yogi. If a yogi wants to shatter the mountain of dirt in his mind, he should concentrate on the lotus feet of the Lord and not imagine something void or impersonal. Because the dirt has accumulated like a solid mountain, one must meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for quite a long time. For one who is accustomed to thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord constantly, however, it is a different matter. The devotees are so fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord that they do not think of anything else. Those who practice the yoga system must meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time, after following the regulative principles and thereby controlling the senses. It is specifically mentioned here, Bhagavatas Charanara Vrinda. One has to think of the lotus feet of the Lord. The Mayavadis imagine that one can think of the lotus feet of Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma or the goddess Durga to achieve liberation. But this is not so. Bhagavataha is specifically mentioned. Bhagavata means of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, and no one else. Another significant phrase in this verse is Shiva, Shivo, Bhoot. By his constitutional position, Lord Shiva is always great and auspicious. But since he has accepted on his head the Ganges water, which emanates from the lotus feet of the Lord, he has become even more auspicious and important. The stress is on the lotus feet of the Lord. A relationship with the lotus feet of the Lord can even enhance the importance of Lord Shiva. What to speak of other ordinary living entities? Fired up. Srila Prabhupada is going Sanskrit scholar on us. So yeah, Jai Ho. Jai. So here we are continuing the journey of a yogi. There are two types of yogi. There is your standard, yogi who practices to get out of the material manifestation. And then, of course, there is the Hiranyagarbhi yogi. So here we are beginning with the standard practice of the yogi. So this is when they are formulating in their mind the Paramatma feature, which is Shirodakshahi Vishnu. Right? That's the goal in this, Shirodakshahi Vishnu. Hiranyagarbhi's goal then becomes Karnodakshahi Vishnu. Right? So because then he is the one who creates the Hiranyagarbha, hence their name Hiranyagarbhis. Right? So here we are talking about the first set of yogis. So now, interestingly enough, this chapter Srila Prabhupada puts as instructions on devotional service. But here we are seeing it's about a journey of a yogi. And one thing for us to catch is that us as devotees, we are also going to struggle. Right? We are going to go through all of this struggle. Here, categorically, we are being told how to get rid of mental struggle. Right? That is the point being made. You will see in other books, it is said that if, here we are talking about how to control mind. It is explained if one wants to control his lust, you look at the eyes and the eyebrows of Krishna. Specifically the eyebrows of Krishna and of Lord Jagannath. And as you're staring at them, anytime you're feeling lustful, you remember them, your lust comes down. It just washes down. So here, of course, we are talking about the mind. How is it that one can channelize the mind? And so this shloka is telling how to do that. Right? The focal point on the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu or Krishna. You will notice an important principle. Usually it is the Vaishnavas that focus a lot on the lotus feet. Usually. We have, Srila Prabhupada. His name is Prabhupada. Which means the one who sits on the lotus feet of Krishna, or in whose feet many devotees will sit. Right? Means both. But both the name in either sense is reflecting on the lotus feet. Right? Of either Bhagavan or the Bhagavata, the one who is following Bhagavan. Right? Are you getting? So now this focal point on the lotus feet of the Lord is very, very specific to Vaishnavism. We spend a lot of time on the lotus feet of the Lord. Lot discussing this one point, the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? So you'll notice this idea, right? You will have other, other sects. You may have somebody following Lord Shiva, somebody following Lord Ganesha. They also talk about, one should surrender to the lotus feet. But they don't have much focus on that. That is not the focal point of the conversation. Yeah? But here, it is completely different. Like, completely switched over. Like, you will notice, my Guru Maharaj was telling the story of the dacoits that were trying to rob Lord Nityananda. Right? Lord Nityananda, when he was sent from Jagannath Puri to Bengal by Lord Chaitanya to say, go preach. Now, Lord Nityananda, he was Avadut. So he was always wonderfully dressed. He had these, beautiful pearl necklaces. He has these armlets of gold and diamonds. So these dacoits are like, yeah, we hit the jackpot. So they're thinking, if we rob this one guy, we're done, man. In movies they always show, whenever people have these heist movies in Hollywood, they always talk about that one heist after which we don't have to rob anybody. So the dacoits, they're looking at Lord Nityananda and thinking, he's the one. I rob him. I ain't going to rob anybody else after this. Of course, who can rob Lord Nityananda? Rob Nityananda robbed them. But anyway, it's a long story. But the reason why I bring this point is that they are unsuccessful in robbing. Okay, it's a long story, so I'm not going to get into it. But they were unsuccessful in robbing, and they were worshipper of Chandi. Chandi is a form of goddess Kali. Sorry, not Lord, goddess Kali. So then they go to Chandi and they say, we must offer her meat. You see? So they don't have this idea that no, we should surrender on the lotus feet. Are you noticing the difference? And you will notice this amongst all demigod worshippers. Oh, things are not working. Let us offer something. Let us give. And devotees, oh, things are not working. Let us surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. This idea is very different. And this is, you will notice in Vaishnavism there is huge focus on this. So this shloka is now dedicated to this idea of why the lotus feet. Right? So, because remember, the yogi, he's sitting and meditating, right? He's meditating, he's cleansing himself, he's getting his position right. If you remember all of that, his asana is correct, his breathing is correct, his back is erect. You see? So much ability is being put in. So what is happening? That he's purifying his position. So as you're purifying yourself, right, you're removing the mud. Now, something interesting. All of these things only happen when the material desires go away. You can only really straighten your back when you don't have material desires. This is something interesting. We may try, right? Nowadays they have belts as well. They put belts and you can straighten your back, right? No, you can only really straighten yourself. All these positions that were described previously? I'm just trying to confirm. Yeah, I think here all of that is described, right? How the yogis, sitting posture, breathing, pranayam. So all of that is being described. The yogi is being described, right? So the sitting posture is being done. The breathing exercises are being presented, right? So all of this is being showcased, like it is being shown. Right? Why is this being shown? To actually say that all of this can only really happen when your material desires go away. Then your pranayam becomes very good. But of course, nowadays, you're doing your pranayam just before going to office. All right, now I'm good. Now let's attack office. Let's make the money. Which is okay. And there's no harm. There is an aspect. There is an aspect of yoga that is healthy. That is talking about health, physical health, what I mean. So, there's Yoga Day coming, right? Is it on, I think 21st or something, the International Yoga Day is coming. Right? So now this Yoga Day is coming, it is in the horizon, I think in 4 or 5 days, Yoga Day is there. International Yoga Day. So they have a lot of focus on the physical health of it. And yes, yoga does give physical health. I do want to make this point. Yoga gives physical health, that's a tick. Right? So let's not acknowledge that. But its mainstay is to connect with the Lord. It is actually about spiritual health. That is its real goal. The spiritual health. So now here, what is being, in this chapter, when I say here meaning in this chapter, it is being explained that the yogi, as he's meditating, as he's letting go of this material desires, the material lust, like that's what's happening. Who comes? Who presents in front of him? The Supreme Lord. We see that happen to Dhruva Maharaj. right? He goes through, it's coming, it's chapter 4, right? Yeah, chapter 4, canto 4. We see Dhruva Maharaj, we see that he was completely, despondent. He goes through his process, he cleansed himself. Immediately Lord Vishnu arrives. So in that same mood, as a yogi is sitting, the Lord becomes visible. The Paramatma, the localized controller, becomes visible. It was, I think, Jahnavi Mataji. Don't quote me. This is in Leelamrita, so don't quote me on this. I think it's Jahnavi Mataji because she was the painter. I think she was the painter. So she's asking Srila Prabhupada, so how do I, draw, Paramatma? And this is for the book, Perfection of Yoga. So I don't know if you've seen that. There's a yogi and there's Paramatma in his heart, right? The first booklet, its cover was like that. So in that, so she's saying, how do I draw Paramatma? So he's explaining, okay, he has 4 hands. So she's like, she's sketching as Srila Prabhupada is speaking. He has a nice helmet, beautiful garland. He's standing erect, right? He has, the club, the chakra, the conch shell. And pretty much Srila Prabhupada is describing this chapter. Yeah, this chapter is being described. That's the point. This chapter is being showcased. All of this is being done. And Jani Mother is drawing. And I think it took about an hour. Srila Prabhupada explains everything and then he starts laughing. She's like, what is it, Srila Prabhupada? He says, I've explained to you in 1 hour that yogis takes lifetimes upon lifetimes to see. In 1 hour, I have explained to you that goal. So it's so nice, right? So this is Acharya. When you have an Acharya, he can tell you, oh yeah, this is what it is. And now for us, oh yeah, we know Paramatma. No, we don't. But it feels like, right? Because we know Krishna, we know Paramatma. But actually, if you're just looking at the Paramatma feature, that's very hard to visualize. Right? So, but here the yogi, here we are talking about the perfection of yoga. Yoginam api sarvesham madgate antaratmana shraddhavam bhajate yoma same yukta tamo mataha. So now we are talking about that uttama. Right? He is now meditating on the Supreme. So we are in that point. Like that is the perfection of yoga. Right? That is end of chapter 6, 629, I think. Was it 629? No. I think it's chapter 629 in Bhagavad Gita, this shloka. So now here, the focus is now that the Supreme Lord is present, it is said, we start looking at the Lord bottom up. Right? That's how we visualize the Lord. So now, the real focus on the lotus feet. So with that context, Yachachaucha nishrita sarit pravarodhakena. So it is explained here that the lotus feet of the Lord, okay? And now you'll see here the word yat. The first word is yat. So this is in continuation of the previous shloka. So the previous shloka describes about that one should concentrate on the lotus feet of the Lord. Right here. Sanchintayed bhagavatas charanaravindam. So we begin from the last shloka that one should focus on the lotus feet of the Lord. So here when you say yat, you are now continuing that. So therefore, the lotus feet of the Lord, sucho. Okay, sorry, I apologize. Sorry, not Socha, I apologize. Saucha. Saucha means to clean. Suchi means once it's clean, when something is clean, it is Suchi. Saucha is the process of making it clean. Okay, so here saying that the process of cleaning, okay, that is being done by Sarit Pravara. Now, Pravara usually means, something that moves, like transcends. And Sarita means water. So now here Sarit Pravara Udakena. So our acharyas then say that this is being referred to Ganga. And in which Leela is this? Does this happen? This happens in the Leela of Vamana. Lord Vamana, right, small personality, right? When he grows up, he becomes Trivikrama. When he grows up. Okay? And Trivikrama meaning one who does 3 amazing feats. Right? So, he does 3 amazing feats with his feet. So that is Supreme Personality of Godhead. With first feet, he lifts up, he hits the upper regions where Vairaja is flowing. Right? Now, Vairaja is actually, in the jointed position of material and spiritual. So it's actually spiritual waters. Vairaja is actually spiritual waters. It is explained. Our Acharya explained, I think, when you have the mandala, I think it is in the I think it is northeast. Don't quote me on this. I'm forgetting now. This is in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, so I don't remember the exact direction. But I think it's in the northeast direction. They are saying that as the spiritual world is there, suddenly we see little water forming. That is now Vairaja. And then, what do you call, the second, in the second Chaturvyuhas, Shankarshana, he comes and he lies down in that, and then he becomes Karno Dakshay Vishnu. So all of that is being described. But now, what we are saying is that water that is forming, which is the perspiration of Mahavishnu, right? It is his perspiration, right? So that's spiritual. So now it is explained that when Vamana, he hits, right, his first feet reaches so high up. So basically what has happened is the feet of Vamana Dev has crossed the universe that we are in. You understanding what has happened here? Our universe is a Hiranya Garbha, a golden egg. His feet has broken through that, right? And that mileage is about 500 million yojanas, or 4 billion miles. So he has crossed the 4 billion miles. Not only has he crossed it, he has gone all the way to the Vairaja. So that's really far. Like, that's a huge step. Okay? And so when he hits Vairaja, right? So the water from Vairaja comes and washes the feet of Vamandev. Or Trivikrama. I mean, in this position, of course, he's Trivikrama. So when you do your shlokas, you do have Trivikrama, Namaha. Right? So Trivikrama, so in that position. But then his feet is being washed. And when that water comes through, that water becomes extremely auspicious. Right? That water is Ganga Devi. Right? Now, imagine what has occurred here, right? Vamana Dev has hit the water. Breaches Vairaja, and from Vairaja, Ganga Devi is coming. Now, Ganga Devi, she is now roaming around in the celestial space. Not only does she roam in the celestial space, she then enters the Hiranya Garbha. Right? So now she enters the Hiranya Garbha, and now she is roaming in the upper planetary system. Then, of course, we know the story of King Sagara. Right? King Sagara comes, he does his worship, and then Bhagirathi, all Sagara's son, Bhagirath, all of these personalities come. Finally, they induce Ganga to come to this Mrityu Loka. To this Mrityu Loka, right? And at that point, it is explained that the ferocity of Ganga was so phenomenal because this is the traversal path that she has taken. She has come from the Vairaja, traversed the celestial multiverse, okay, and has now entered the Hiranya Garbha, which is, and this is one of the smallest universes. Yeah, we have four-headed Brahma, which is the smallest universe. So has entered this. So of course the point is being made that as Ganga comes streaming down, she will come with ferocity, extreme ferocity, not just ferocity but extreme ferocity. Who can handle this ferocity? So now, Tirthena murdhanya adikriten Shiva Shivo Bhut. Right? So it is explained that murdhanya. So murdhanya is on his head. You have your mudras. When you're yogi, you have your mudras. So from this murdhanya, boom, that's when the soul should leave. Typically, most of us are not going to be at that state. Most of us, we will just be saying, hopefully, if Krishna allows, the acharyas remind us, we may remember Krishna and give up our lives. Okay? So if the acharyas allow, and if Krishna allows, right? So we may remember Krishna and give up our lives. That is our desire, right? That's where we are hovering around. But keep, parking that conversation. This is the place, this is a very important place. So it is explained that Ganga's ferocity, as she comes down, Lord Shiva, he mats up his hair. Okay, and as he mats up his hair, Ganga comes into his hair and she gets captured and her speed is reduced. The speed, the ferocity with which she is flowing, it calms down. Right? So now, Lord Shiva, it is explained, Srila Prabhupada writes this in the purport, that Shiva Shivo Bhut. He says Lord Shiva is auspicious. He's an auspicious, that's why his name is Shiva. He is auspicious. He says, but not only is he auspicious, he becomes even more auspicious because he is now holding Ganga in his head. Now, I'll just show you the difference of observation, right? The Shaivites, when they observe this, they say, see the prowess and power of Shiva. He arrested Ganga in his hair. Right? Which is true. Which is factual and true. Right? That is a factual point and true. Devotees of Krishna, like devotees are looking at the same situation. And what are they thinking? What is their thought process? That, oh, look at the auspiciousness of Lord Shiva. He is holding in his head the water that has washed the feet of Lord Shiva. So from these two observations, you can see how, although both people are looking at the same incident, although both people are looking at the same personality, one lot will liberate, other will not. Are you observing? The one who is a Shaivite, he's observing the same thing and he's thinking, this is nothing. Vaishnava is observing, he's thinking, oh, this is very amazing. So here the word tirthena is used. So you might have heard the word dhama and tirtha. You might have heard these words. Tirtha and dhama. What's the difference between the two? So tirtha is a place that allows one to transmigrate from his current position. So typically in a tirtha, you can also engage in activities that can send you to the heavenly regions. You have the ability to transmigrate, right? An easy journey to other planets. Srila Prabhupada, right? You have the tirtha enables that. You have that ability to do. That's why it's a tirtha. So typically tirthas would be, let's say, the holy rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, holy mountains. Right? You'll see many mountains are considered very holy. Holy gardens and places like Badrika Ashram. It's a tirtha sthan. Right? And so typically in tirtha, you will see there will be many karma yogis. There will be many jnana yogis. And they will be engaging a lot in activities that allow them to migrate out of the mrityu loka. Are you getting? So that's tirtha. That is the purpose of tirtha. Right now, but dham, it is a little different. Dham is where the Supreme Personality of Godhead brings his abode of the spiritual world down to the material. So the dham is tatashta shakti. Just like you, all of us, we are souls, right? So we are tatashta. We are the marginal potency. We have the ability to both be in spiritual and material, right? Now, right now, we are in one or the other. Right now, at the current state, all of us are right now in the spiritual world. Why? We are discussing Bhagavatam. Yeah? Ayur dharati vaipumsam. So now your age is not being counted because you are in the spiritual world. Are you understanding why? Why ayur dharati vaipumsam? Because now your age is not being capped. You are in the spiritual realm, right? So you are there in that zone, you are able to function. But moment we step outside from here, we fall down into the material world. So we are very binary right now. But somebody like the Acharya, like Srila Prabhupada, right? He is truly tatashta. He is in the material manifestation, completely spiritual. So physically located in the material manifestation, right? But in every other aspect, he is in the spiritual realm. So that is actually tatashta. Do you understand what tatashta means? This is marginal. That you can be in both at the same time. For us, it's a little different because we are practicing. We are sadhakas. So for a sadhaka, it is binary. You're either there or you're here. Right? And it keeps happening, Sometimes you're walking down the street and somebody does something to you, you become angry. Now you're in the material. Then he's thinking, oh no, Krishna, I shouldn't think like that. Oh, Krishna, sorry, I should try to be a more polite and nice. Oh, not good. Now you're flipping into spiritual. And then Bhatak, you'll flip into... You see, this flip keeps happening, right, for us. But here, so that is your, right now you can almost say that right now we are practicing our tirtha. But really, what we should be doing is being actually marginal, like the acharyas. So the reason why I brought this up is dham, the spiritual world, that spiritual abode which is now physically located in the material manifestation is tatashta. It is also tatashta. So, we are all in the dham. Okay? Recently, I think a year back or something, you went to Vrindavan, all of you. So you're in the dham. You're there, sitting. Now the question is, are you looking at it binary or are you actually getting the full tatashta energy? That's the question. right? You'll see great devotees. Sometimes you'll hear, Prabhus like Dina Bandhu Prabhu and all, give you a walk of Vrindavan. Or I don't know if you're watching Indradumya Swami Maharaj. He's doing all these Vrindavan parikramas and he's showing. I don't know if you see those YouTube videos. So then you'll see that these Maharajas and these great Prabhus who have lived in Vrindavan, they are actually able to see the Tatashta. They are actually able to say, this is this beautiful dham of Vrindavan. And what you and me are thinking, oh, there's so much honking going on. Oh, I can see plastic. The mind, right? I'm talking about myself, sometimes I'm thinking, oh, plastic, oh, this place is not clean. I'm thinking like this. Whereas those devotees, they are, for them, they are, seeing that, oh, this is Kunja Bihari. These are the kunjas, the narrow lanes of flowers where Krishna roams. For them, it is that. Interesting, isn't it? How the visions are so different. And so, dham, it is tatashta. So, dham actually is the spiritual world. But physical positioning is material. It's just the physical positioning. So, it is full tatashta. So, now, here, the word tirtha is being used. Right? This word tirtha is being used for Lord Shiva. The word tirtha is being used. Right? Why? Why is this word being used? Because devotees, when he's seeing, like remember the two positions, the Shaivite is seeing this story and then the devotee is seeing this story. Devotee, when he's seeing the story of Lord Shiva holding Ganga, he's thinking of Lord Vishnu. And so, there is an opportunity to transmigrate. There is also another story when the fight that happens with, what's the name? That guy with multiple hands? Banasura, thank you. I forgot his name. Bali Maharaj's great-grandson, right? He's there, he's fighting, and so Lord Shiva, everybody is there, everyone's fighting, right? Everybody is fighting. And so it is explained that Krishna, he sends the yawning weapon. Krishna sends the yawning weapon. When he sends the yawning weapon, Lord Shiva, gets hit by the weapon, he starts yawning, and then he leaves the battlefield. Right? So this is what has happened. Now, if you read the same story in, let's say, Shiva Purana or in some other Puranas, right, and how the Shaivites see it, that, oh, Lord Vishnu threw a arrow at Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva just simply yawned. Are you observing? See, amazing, isn't it? The same story. It's the exact same story, how two people are visualizing it. Amazing, isn't it? Isn't it amazing? So therefore, one will be liberated, one will not. Are you understanding? That's the tirtha. So if you can appreciate this, it's quite amazing. It's actually quite amazing. So anyway, so we are talking about Lord Shiva. He is now holding Ganga. Dhyatur mana shamala shaila nishritya vajram. So now we are talking about the manaha shamala shaila. Manaha, your mind, our mind. Okay? Shamala, right, is dirt. Kutastva kashmalam idam. Who says this? Krishna is telling Arjuna. Where has this dirt come upon you? Vishame samupastitham. In this time of need of fighting. Yeah? So this ashmala, right? So here you see the word shamala. You're seeing that word. Manaha shamala shaila. Shaila means mountain. Srila Prabhupada writes, solid mountain. See Srila Prabhupada's word. Solid mountain. Okay, this Srila Prabhupada is writing in the purport. He's saying this dirt in our mind is as solid as a powerful mountain. But it can be broken. Nishritya vajram. By the thunderbolt. And what are those thunderbolts? The lotus feet of Krishna. You see our Radha Gopinath, his feet is very unique. I don't know if you notice, his thumb is out. Right? Typically you will not see that. It's very unique positioning of his feet. Very unique. Right? His thumb's pointing out. Right? So I'm talking about the folded leg, sorry. When I'm saying that, I'm talking about the folded leg. Right? So very unique. So you have to remember these things. You have to remember, because when you're frustrated from this material, and this material world can frustrate us. Trust me. We are thinking, I can take this. No, we cannot take this. No, I can take it. No, we can't. Material world is a tough place, mate. Temperature drops by a few degrees and we're like, we're shivering and shaking. Shivering and shaking. We can't make it. Right? Sometimes it gets so hot you can't get out of the house. You're like, I don't want to leave the house. No way. In Vrindavan, in summers, it gets hot. Your tummy will go. Your feet are blistered. It's hot. It's really hot. It's hardcore. And then why I'm making this point is that material world is a tough place. It's tough. Right? And because the material world is a tough place, we have basically got a really tough skin. We've stayed here very long. Trillions, gazillions of lifetimes. Stayed here long. Have tough skin. So the lotus feet of Lord Krishna can break that. We need to remind ourselves what is real. Being with Krishna is real. Not this. When you step out, right, when you hit Falcon Street, that's the illusion. But that feels so real, right? We were discussing this, I think, in the Bhakti Break. That feels so real. When I am, standing in the bus stop, that feels real. When I am in the train bustling with all these people who want to make money like me, that feels real. That's the illusion. This, sitting here in dhoti, waiting for prasadam, this is real. This is real. But it doesn't feel real. This feels artificial and that feels real. But that's why it says Ada and Idam. Yeah? This is Ada. And because we have forgotten how Ada feels. Idam, this material world, yeah, this feels real. Idam, we are very, very good with. So anyway, Dhyayech chiram bhagavatas charanara vrindam. Sorry, time is up. So therefore we must, if we remember the lotus feet of the Lord, the charanara vrinda, dhyaye, if we remember, then this Vajra will break away this mountain, this Mana Shamala Shaila. Right? And I don't know if you can appreciate the poetry, and I'll just end with this. Your mind is up here. So Lord Shiva's, Ganga comes on the head of Lord Shiva. I don't know if you can appreciate the poetry. If you can appreciate, you'll really like it. The first two lines are the analogy of the actual point being made. I don't know if you can catch that. If you can catch that, it's very nice. Right? The actual point is that our mind has a lot of dirt, right? The lotus feet of the Lord will keep hitting and it will break it away. That's the actual point. The analogy that is being provided is that the washing of the feet of the Lord and then Ganga coming on the feet of Lord Shiva creates auspiciousness. So I want to end with the last line, because it's a very beautiful line by Srila Prabhupada. A relationship with the lotus feet of the Lord can even enhance the importance of Lord Shiva. What to speak of other ordinary living entities? What a beautiful point. So if you can catch the poetry, you'll really enjoy. Okay, so yeah, we'll end here. Devotees want to share something and then we'll wind up. Yes. Yeah. Are given the ability to liberation. No. So just to rephrase. So yes, what you are saying, but that liberation is by showing them lotus feet of Krishna. Themselves, okay. So Shiva on his own right, Lord Shiva, on his own right cannot liberate anyone from the material manifestation. He cannot. He lives in Mahakala Dham. So if you know the positioning, Mahakala Dham is the material manifestation. So he can, his position is in Mahakala Dham. That's the highest position he can get. So therefore all his worshippers, everybody becomes ghosts and goblins. Because he has to give them some form. See, they have meditated for liberation. He can give it, so he gives them ghost and goblin form. The pichashas and all, that's the form he gives them. But I want to confirm what you are saying. I want to reconfirm. The point that is being made is that they have the ability as Vaishnavas, and they are all Vaishnavas. The names you have taken, Durga, Shiva, Ganesha, they are Vaishnavas, right? When you read Brahma Samhita, you see that Vaishnava position, right? Lord Shiva, Shiram Dadadi Vikara Vishesha Yoga Sanjayate, that is being explained. Durga Devi Shrishti Sthiti Pranayasha. Lord Ganesha, what is Lord Ganesha's? Ganadi Raja, Vignan Vihantum. What's the first line? I forgot for Vignan Vihantum. I forgot the first line. He on his Tumalai, he holds the lotus feet of the Lord. So they are Vaishnavas. So your point is that, and you'll see this story coming, by the way. It's going to come in Canto 4. Prachetas come in Canto 4, right? At Canto 4, right? A Pracheta story is being there where Lord Shiva then tells them, yes, you prayed so nicely. Take Lord Vishnu's. Yeah. So that is the awarding of liberation. But if you are talking about awarding of liberation as they themselves can liberate, because, so if they are the goal of the person worshipping, right, then the liberation can only be up to the goal. Does that make sense? Right? Because that's the goal, that's the prayojana, right? So the highest position is Mahakala Dham, which is just under Brahmajyoti. Just under, like just right under that. Right? So that's where the original Shiva and the original Durga. No. Vairaja is higher. Vairaja. Yeah. No. So, okay, just to explain, the Vairaja river is the middle point. So it is from spiritual and it is in the, so that point. The Vairaja river is much, much higher. Vairaja ocean is not a drop. Much higher. This is way more higher. And then the spiritual top on top of that is Sadashiva, but now we are talking Vishnu. So that is the point being made, right? So as long as we catch that's very good. Yeah. Anything else from the Vaishnavas? No? Alright. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.